for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. Jimmy Murphy, Pierre, McGuire, and I'm back at Jocko's Pub in Waltham. Pierre, thanks to another Verizon outage in my neighborhood. Are you back in the Boston area?
I am. I'm back in the Boston area. Battled the snow from the great state of Maine yesterday through the state of New Hampshire into northern Massachusetts, and it was a delightful ride from Orono. But one of the best things of the weekend, the fan base in Orono. Jimmy, hockey is alive and well in Maine. The University of Maine, led by Ben Barr, is doing a phenomenal job. And I got to tell you, being in that building both nights, Friday and Saturday, saw some exquisite college hockey, but more than anything, the passion of the fan base was awesome. It really was great.
Yeah, that's what we expected, and I got to get up there sooner or later here, Pierre. And speaking of Mr. Ben Barr, we are going to be joined by him tomorrow, I understand.
Yes, we will be. He'll be on with us from 4:15 to 4:45 tomorrow night live. They're heading down to play a good friend of ours, Mike Cavanaugh, in the University of Connecticut this coming weekend. So just before the team gets on the bus, he'll be joining us tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that, and I know you are as well.
Is definitely Pierre. And actually, you're talking about that they're, they're getting ready to head down to face UConn, Pierre. Some of our fans might not understand for teams like a UMaine or UVM or teams that are way up there. Some teams that are in the middle of nowhere, out in Orono there. What's it like for them when they have to do road trips?
Depending on the weather, it can be hellacious. Honestly, yeah. I'll give you an example. Colgate took 2 days to get to Orono, and part of it was one of their coaches had coached at Andover, so they used the Andover rink and practiced on their way there, stayed overnight, had a nice meal, then went. But after the game Saturday, which ended up being a 4-4 tie, Colgate got on the bus and bused back to Hamilton, New York. A bus ride that usually would take 9 hours, maybe 8, took almost 12. So just because of the weather. Yeah. And Vinny, and I got to tell you, Vinny, the bus driver for Colgate, deserves a medal. He's a prison guard as well. That's his real job. Wow. And I'm not kidding you. And they got back at around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. He had his day job, his real job, started at 3 that afternoon Sunday and went till 7 in the morning Monday. And he showed up for work. What a guy. He's a fantastic human being. The team thinks so much of him. These are the stories I want to get out there because it's all about the fabric of hockey. They think so much of him at Colgate. They gave him a championship ring from last year's championship team at Lake Placid. And you should have seen the reaction of this gentleman when he got the ring. I mean, tears in his eyes. It was phenomenal. It was just he's just a special, special guy, great person.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I know about these trips. I mean, it's like we see, you look back to the old movie Slapshot and some of the road trips they took. I mean, these are these guys going through the back roads of the Northeast or wherever, and I can't imagine what it's like out in Minnesota or North Dakota as well, Pierre.
I'm going to give you a good one from the East Coast Hockey League.
Okay.
So we played a Sunday night game in Biloxi, Mississippi against Bruce Boudreau's team. Bob Woods was a player, assistant coach who used to be the assistant coach for the Minnesota Wild and the Washington Capitals. He's a real good defenseman, and he was helping Bruce out. So it's a pretty good story. Right after the game, we get on the bus to go play in Toledo. And that's about a 16-hour bus ride.
Right.
And, we did very well. I think we won in Biloxi that night, or it was a great game. Either we won or it was a tie, I forget, but it was a real good hockey game. We got on the bus. We bused to Toledo, 16 hours. The driver was unbelievable. He's a former football player at Louisiana Tech. And so we get to Toledo, and the guys are thinking, oh, what a nice guy. He's going to put us right in the hotel. I said, no. We're going to the rink. we practiced. They thought we were going to drop their equipment, but I wanted them to get the bus ride out. And what I did was I gave the trainer a credit card, and I said, when we come back in this room, make sure that – because we had a couple days before our next game – make sure there's plenty of beer and pizza in the room. I want the guys to be surprised.
Perfect.
But we skated, and then they came back in, and there's, lots of ice coolers and adult beverages and some beer. I wanted the guys to know I appreciated their efforts.
Yeah, so they went from probably a little frustrated with you to very happy.
Oh, no, they were angry. I'm sure they were angry. One of the things I always tried to do, I didn't do it all the time, but I tried to always make sure when they were skating, when they felt there was a punishment, I try to get involved with them as well. So
that's good. That's a good way to do it. Well, let's get to some very big NHL news over the weekend. And then, of course, today we'll go back to Friday night, Pierre. Chicago Blackhawks playing Jersey Devils at the Rock in Jersey. And, as we were talking off the air, Brenden Smith, kind of a throwback defenseman, loves to throw the body around, good character guy, the type of guy that every team needs if they want to make a run in the playoffs, in my eyes. And he goes up and he catches Connor Bedard, the rookie sensation for the Blackhawks, who's dangling through but has his head down, and he catches him. And it wasn't a headshot. It was a clean shot. Now, the follow-through, because his head was down, he did end up making eventual head contact, but the primary point of contact was not the head. And, it seems pretty unanimous, but yet there's a crowd out there saying, oh, he shouldn't be doing that, and that was dirty, and that was a cheap shot. So let's play this from Ken Danico, who himself was a great old-school defenseman in the mold there of Brenden Smith. We're going to play his take right after, and then we're going to go to the coach, Luke Richardson, of the Chicago Blackhawks, who I thought did a fantastic job of immediately downplaying any question marks as to this being a clean hit and how his team felt about it. So let's play this from Ken Danico first.
It's right here is Bedard. He's got such slick hands, and there he makes a move right there. No, it looks like Brenden Smith just steps up and catches him. Yes, he ends up getting him in the mouth area. One more look from a better angle.
That's clean.
That's clean. The elbow's down. He goes right through the chest. Yes, the follow-through or just the impact kind of maybe clipped him in the mouth where Bedard was a little shaken up, and you hope he's okay. But here comes Nick Foligno to the aid of the young star. And I understand this part too, Bill.
Okay, now he described it perfectly there. Now, everybody's kind of up in arms on social media. And then the coach, Luke Richardson of the Chicago Blackhawks, does a perfect job. This is coming from the coach of Bedard, okay? So if anyone's going to make a gripe about it, it's going to be his coach. But listen to what Coach Richardson said.
Didn't really see it too many times yet. I just saw it quick on the bench. I don't know if it was dirty. I think Connor was reaching for a puck and didn't see him because he was behind another guy, one of their players. And I don't think he stepped up on him. I think he just kind of stopped. Connor kind of ran headfirst right into him.
I mean, and that's it.
I don't think it was intent to...
That's it, right? I mean, Pierre, he nails it right there. And I love that he did that because when his coach, when Bedard's coach is saying that, it really kind of calms the drama that was building.
Well, first of all, salute to Ken Danico. He's got to do that live. He doesn't have time to think about it. That's a really good call by a very, very good hockey person. He deserves a lot of credit for that. That's really strong TV analysis. Luke Richardson is spot on, Jimmy. It's not even close. He's spot on. He's going to gain way more traction with players around the league, and especially with his own players. And what people need to know, Luke played like that. Luke wasn't a shrinking violet when he played. He was a tough guy. Mm-hmm. And, Chicago Blackhawk fans, you used to have Chris Chelios there. You used to have Dave Manson there. You used to have the late Brian Marchment there. You had some guys that could break some legs. It's not like, Chicago Blackhawk defensemen were overly physical with other players on other teams. I coached the Stanley Cup final in Chicago in the old stadium. And trust me, one of the things we used to tell our players in that small rink, Jimmy, I'm just telling you, in 1992, if you're going to come down the wing, you better know who you're cutting down the middle. If you're going to cut to the middle of the ice, you better know who's on the ice against you because they're going to step up and pile drive you. And so one of the things that's happened, it's not such a bad thing, is that all these skill development coaches keep talking about puck possession, dominate the puck. What they don't tell you is the more you have the puck, the more people are watching you. The more the people are watching you, the more chance you have of getting hit. We're the only sport that doesn't have out of bounds. So all these skill guys, they teach all the skills, which is great. I have no problem with the skill level of the league is unbelievable. They better also warn these guys, you might get hit when you have the puck on your stick. And, I feel bad because Connor Bedard's not just a great player. From all things that I've heard, he's just a fantastic person, too. Feel bad. You don't like to see anybody get hurt, but he got hurt.
Yeah, and it's part of the game, unfortunately. But I'm with you, and this is kind of what we were talking about with Marchand, with his quote last week, right? I mean, it was only a day before that happened on last Thursday night when Marchand was just talking about, look, I mean, and he was a little harsh saying the league was soft, but we understood the gist he was trying to get through to everybody. It was like, this is great with the skill and all, but it's still a physical game, and you still got to play that way. And you have, like you just said, Pierre, I think the key thing, like you're saying, is you have to be aware that your opponent is willing to play that way, that he's not going to just sit back and let you make some highlight reel play. He's going to do everything in his humanly possible to not be embarrassed and be part of that highlight reel, you know?
So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're a younger fan and you haven't really seen the nastiness in hockey, go watch the 2003 Stanley Cup final between Anaheim and New Jersey. And go watch Paul Kariya get absolutely destroyed by Scott Stevens. Clean hit, by the way, by Stevens. It was. But Paul tried to cut back, and that was the nature. Now, I know things evolve. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. But back then, for those that are fans in Dallas and those that are fans in Colorado, remember the Darian Hatcher-Peter Forsberg collisions? I mean, those were gigantic battles. For those that were part of the Pittsburgh-Washington series, even in the early days when you had Scott Stevens or when you had Kevin Hatcher, I mean, there was stuff going on. There was violence. It happened. But to me, the biggest thing about Brenden Smith, and I have so much – first time I ever saw Brenden Smith play, he played for St. Michael Buzzards. He was playing before he got drafted in the first round by Detroit and before he went to Wisconsin. His draft year, Wisconsin had 3 first-round picks. One was Kyle Turris, one was Ryan McDonough, and one was Brenden Smith. They were all in the same draft, the 3 of them, okay? And I saw all 3 of them play that year. And Brenden Smith, to me, was not just a hard physical player. He was a tough kid, but he had skill and he could skate. He could really skate and he had skill. And he stood out. In that part of Ontario, he was the best defenseman, whether you're a major junior player or whether you were a junior player, tier 2 junior player like he was. He was the best defenseman. Anyways, he goes to Wisconsin. You know what he did, Jimmy? He knew that he was going to have to dance with Foligno. He knew. Mm-hmm. So rather than say, I don't feel so good, I'm going to bail out on this, he says, okay, I'll do it. I know I got to take my medicine. And he did.
And I think if we sat here and we looked Foligno in the eye, he's going to agree it wasn't a dirty hit, but he's just doing his job because that's their superstar. And now look, I don't want to seem like I'm a hypocrite because I think it was only a week ago where I was complaining, hey, enough of these hits, clean hits being punished with a fight. But I think there is an exception to the rule depending on the category of the player, Pierre, and what he means, not just to the team, but to the league. And I think they understand that. The Devils understood it. It was just one of these things that people have to understand that are looking at that hit and saying, oh, my God, that's hard. No, this is hockey. And credit to Brenden Smith for not going for the head. Yeah. He could have easily really hurt him a lot worse than a broken jaw. I know that sounds horrible and barbaric, but, I mean, he could have sent him into another world, and he could be in concussion land right now.
No, I really respect what you're saying there, and hats off to Brenden and also to Luke Richardson. I think what Luke did to try to diffuse the situation is unbelievably strong and very charismatic, I think, from Luke.
Yeah.
And it shows the intelligence level he has. And I think he's done a tremendous job, obviously, with that team in Chicago. But to me is that I understand people don't want to see good players or anybody. Listen, when you got somebody playing in the game, like I have a son that plays in the game. When you have somebody that's playing in the game, you don't want to see anybody get hurt because one day that could be your child. You don't want to see anybody get hurt. And is hard hitting part of it? It is. It's a part of the game. I'm up in Orono. You should have seen some of the hits that I saw this weekend. And I'm telling you, there were more hooking and tripping calls than there were calls for hard hits. Mm-hmm. Because people still want to see hard hits, Jimmy.
Yeah.
They do. People want to see that.
Including the players.
The players want part of it. They don't want dirty stuff.
No.
None of the players want dirty, but they understand everybody's fair game once you get inside the arena. They just understand it.
And intimidation, as you always say, Pierre, is part of the game still, and it always will be.
As long as
it's a message.
Hey, listen, and I'm telling you right now, I'm a huge proponent of women's hockey. Huge proponent. I'm stifled and shocked actually that they've allowed so much hitting in their games in the PWPHL. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I know. And they didn't advertise it much either, Pierre, coming into this. It was sort of like, let's just let it dictate itself on the ice and we'll announce it with the action. And I think that was even better. I think that drew more eyes in and drew more of an audience that maybe they weren't going to have.
Well, I think the women deserve a lot of credit. They're playing really hard. Those games it's a short season and they're playing for keeps. I mean, they understand there's a chance for them to have a livelihood playing a game they love. There's nothing wrong with it. But it shows you, again, the physical component of the game. And they realize, I think as a league, they realize too the importance of physicality. And the women have bought in on it. So good for them.
Yep, good stuff. All right, changing topics here, Pierre. Of course, we were kind of expecting it for a while now. There's been lots of reports for about the last week that they were going to sign Nylander in Toronto. And, you know, I see stuff on Twitter now, people saying they overpaid him and what are they thinking? And, oh, my God, look at all the money they have locked up and so many play. And he's not worth it. All right, look, you can make a very great argument that the Toronto Maple Leafs, and to be fair, it's more on Kyle Dubas because Treliving wasn't there for all these other contracts that they have to combine now against the cap with Nylander's new contract, which is, by the way, $92 million for 8 years, 11.2 cap hit per season. But Pierre, like I don't know if people aren't paying attention to the market or to what's going on in hockey and the fact that the salary cap is going up now. So when I hear somebody say, how can they justify giving Nylander that and giving him more than David Pastrnak got last year from the Bruins in the contract that just started this year, I look at it and I said, well, apparently you're not paying attention because last year they were in a much different situation looking at the salary cap, not knowing what was going to happen. It hadn't risen the way people expected. So they had to give him what they did. And last year people thought that was too much. Well, now the cap's risen. I just think this is market value. I'm not saying whether or not he will end up being worth it. I don't know. But right now, for somebody with what he's done this season, his body of work, that's market value. You agree?
He's a 40 to 50 goal scorer. There are not a lot of those guys in the league, and he's really consistent with it. And clearly he picked a great year to have what looks to be a career year, even though, you know, his highest goal total has been 40 goals in one season. He looks like he's going to surpass that pretty easily. So, you know, again, the market is what the market is. Does his cap go up? It does go up. What Toronto needs to recognize is Mitchell Marner becomes a UFA in 2025. John Tavares becomes a UFA in 2025. I mean, and I will just tell you, not picking on them at all because they've tried to make their team relevant to win the cup, so they've disposed of a lot of picks. They don't have a lot of prospects that are going to be getting paid big money when they come out of junior or come out of college. I mean, Easton Cowan and Fraser Minton are their two best prospects for money down the road, I would say, at this point. Well, they're not even in the NHL yet.
No.
You know, so, I mean, Toronto's got to stay relevant. And if you were to ask me, are they going to be a legitimate contender to win the cup with the roster they have now? No, I don't think so. I just don't think they're deep enough on defense like a lot of people, and I'm not sure they're going to be healthy enough in goal or even good enough in goal. We'll see. We'll see how it works. Anything can happen. You know, nobody thought Florida was going to beat Boston the first round either last year, and they did. So anything can happen. But realistically, I kind of understand what Brad Treliving had to do, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He had to get a star player signed because there's a real chance that Mitchell Marner doesn't go back after 2025.
Exactly.
And he's giving these guys, you know, Morgan Riley, Austin Matthews, he's given these guys, and Mitchell Marner, he's given them every opportunity to try to win as a group this year and next year. That's what he's doing.
And he's trying hard right now. I mean, we know that it's been confirmed all over the place that he's had a lot of interest in Tanev and Calgary. He's trying to bring some defense in, which they need. Yeah. Obviously, they want to figure out their goaltending, and well, let's see what he does in the next couple of months to solidify that.
He inherited this. The only thing, I mean, there's certain guys he can take credit for, but not a lot. I mean, the truth is that most of this roster is inherited, and we'll see. I mean, you know, he had nothing to do with Matthew Nyes. He had nothing to do with Bobby McMahon. Like all these guys that are new there, he had nothing to do with those guys. They were in place before he got there. So let's see, you know, how it all plays out going forward.
Well, in terms of a contract year and players, you know, and usually that's when you see them kind of rise to the occasion because they want to hit pay dirt there. Well, one guy that doesn't really need a hit pay dirt, but I'm sure isn't happy with the contract year he's having right now, Pierre, is Steven Stamkos, captain of Tampa Bay Lightning. And, you know, you pointed out to me today that Steven Stamkos right now is a minus 19, 16 goals, 22 assists, and a minus 19 in 38 games played. I saw him play the other night when he was in Boston, and I don't know I don't want to say, I know he's interested, so not disinterested isn't the word. he didn't look present. How's that sound? He did not look present out there. And that's not to say that he's not trying, but there's something going on, Pierre, with Steven Stamkos. Could it be that, this whole thing with the contract and the fact that the team he made a point of coming back to when he could have went to the Leafs, is that weighing on him? Is that hurting him mentally right now?
He's 33 years old. All he's ever done is win. Everywhere he's ever been, he's won. World Junior, Tampa Bay Lightning. Here, people forget this. The amount of hockey he's played. He's played over 1,000 games in the National Hockey League. He's played almost 150 playoff games, give or take. So you start to add these numbers up and look at it. It's just monumental. He's had major lower body injuries, major lower body injuries that he had to come back from, and it forced him to miss two Olympics. I remember when he got hit in the face early on in his career in Boston in 2011. That was devastating. And he came back and played. This is a tough guy. Jimmy, I know him really well. Steven Stamkos is a winner. He is. He's won at everything. He's won at hockey. He's won in lacrosse. He's won in soccer. He's won in track and field. I'm not kidding you. Like, he's won in all these things.
I didn't know that.
He's an amazing athlete. The guy is a winner. He's a gentleman. He represents his organization unbelievably well. I think, I could be wrong, but I think not being signed or being dealt with right now in a contract situation is probably bothering him a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
He took less money. Now, people will say, what about the tax base in Florida? Right. I know they don't pay tax compared to Ontario. I get that. I understand. He did. He took less money to go to stay in Tampa.
And he brought him 2 cups.
Yeah, 2 cups and another trip to the final.
Yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah, and Pierre, that 2015 run, it sounds crazy when I say this, but in terms of him and in terms of what that team did versus expectations was more impressive to me than them going and winning those back-to-backs. Obviously, that's very impressive. But I'm trying to say is he helped take a team that really nobody was given a chance to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final against the dynasty that was the Chicago Blackhawks then, who ended up winning their 3rd and last cup as that dynasty in that year in 2015. That run isn't talked about enough, I think, by the media and fans in terms of what Steven Stamkos did and the heart and soul he was for that specific squad.
I agree. You're spot on. You're right on. And again, I understand people are saying, well, what's he doing? He's still averaging over a point a game. I can tell you he's probably not happy with his plus minus.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. But to be fair, we have to look at Tampa as a whole experiment. You lose Barclay Goodrow, you lose Yanni Gord, you lose Blake Coleman, you lose Alex Killorn, you lose Patrick Maroon, you lose Ryan McDonough. Hello, you lose Jan Ruda. You start doing the math of all the players that are gone. They lost a lot, and a lot
of glue guys too. You're saying, Pierre, these are glue guys that you're bringing up.
They're all eye test guys. Their numbers don't matter. If you ask Anaheim if they're a better team with Alex Killorn this year compared to last year. Okay,
I know for a fact.
Ask Tampa if they want Alex Killorn back. Yeah, they do. Ask them if they want Barclay Goodrow back. Ask them if they want Blake Coleman back. Ask them, there's so many. You can go down the line. So
and he didn't complain once. He just kept soldiering on. So I get if he's, kind of like, hey guys, I've done my part here. What's going on? So, Pierre, I'm just throwing out there that I'm just spitballing. This is hypothetically speaking. I kind of wonder, and they're kind of headed that way right now. If Tampa's out of it, come deadline time, do we see another St. Louis situation when, he got dealt to the Rangers? And I know it's Tampa fans watching us right now and be like, how dare you say that's blasphemy? It's the reality of the game. It really is. And it's pretty clear to me that the management in Tampa, and I'm not knocking them for this, they have to move forward. They have to start to bring in new guys, start to bring up their young players, their prospects, and they have to start to move towards the future. And that's what they're doing slowly but surely. And as we saw when St. Louis got dealt, part of that is sometimes trading a popular player, a key guy of your franchise that's meant the world to the franchise, just like they did with St. Louis. So That's why, I said to somebody today, said, you're nuts. They'll never trade Stamkos. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, Pierre. I really don't.
I've talked to other hockey people that feel like you. I can't go there just because
I know.
I see him as a Tampa Bay Lightning player. I do. I remember his draft year. Tampa and LA were picking 1 and 2. It's pretty easy. So you either get Steven Stamkos or you get Drew Doughty.
Yeah, I was there.
Both teams hit home runs, monumental home runs. You couldn't go wrong if you were either team. And if you look at it, both guys have won 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Both guys have won 2 Stanley Cups. It's really amazing when you look at it. They were World Junior teammates in Pardubice in 2008. I mean, I can go down the line, all the great things these guys have done together or against one another. But, again, it just shows you there's a reason why those guys go so early in the draft. And Steven has been – I see him as a Tampa Bay Lightning player, so I'm not even going to try to speculate. I don't think it's fair. When I've been in the league as long as I've had the good fortune.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not going to speculate about players' destinations. I don't think it's fair. But do I think something's bothering him? Yeah, I do. And I think it's probably because he hasn't had serious talks about a contract.
All right. Well, let's turn it over to some of our viewers right now. And actually, somebody over there saying, Denora is saying Stamkos would be interesting in Boston. Yeah, well, you never know. You never know.
So here's the thing. You lose Krejci to retirement. You lose Bergeron to retirement. Chara, obviously, longer loss ago. Tuca not there anymore. So your tie-in to the Cup years is one guy, Brad Marchand, right? Really, to the winning.
Yep.
So do you want to bring in a guy that knows how to win? You want to bring in a guy that really cares about winning? That's why I used the term before. All I know about Steven is he's a winner. Steven's a winner. I'm just going to tell you that. And
he'll be hey, if it ever does come to the point where they let it known that he's available, they let it be known. The line will be long because people know around the league what a winner this guy is. All right,
Jimmy, if you got a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup and he's available, you better try to get him.
Even as a rental. Even if I know going in it's going to be a rental.
Yeah, I'm just telling you, get him.
You know what? That's a good point about Boston too. I mean, if I'm Don Sweeney and I realize a guy like that who can bring in those intangibles that maybe I lost with the Krejci and Bergeron departing there. And yes, this guy's stepping up. Charlie Coyle's done a great job in that department for the Bruins. But, if that guy's available, I'm going to do all I can to get him. But let's go to another question.
Go for it.
All right. A to Z me. Obvious question. Leafs are going to spend almost $50 million on 4 players next year. How do they do it?
Well, the cap went up, so they have to do some juggling. That's why I talked about young players like Easton Cowan, Fraser Minton. Those guys are going to play because they're going to be making close to league minimums. And a lot of guys that are being trained right now in Toronto by John Gruden in the American Hockey League, they're going to play too. And they're probably going to have some guys moved out that aren't making some money right now. So, that's just the way it works. They've decided to try to build it this way. I don't believe you can outscore your defensive problems in the NHL, Jimmy, but they're going to try to do it. That's what they're going to
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think they can do it, but we'll see. Maybe they can, but so far, the only anomaly to the whole thing, the Edmonton Oilers in the 80s. But even then, if you watch them play defense with Craig Mooney and Charlie Huddy and Dr. Randy Gregg and Paul Coffey and Rayo Ruotsalainen, they had defense. It wasn't like they were just they were an offensive juggernaut yet, but they could play defense.
Oh, yeah.
Craig McGavish was a heck of a defensive forward.
Yes.
Kelly Buckberger was a heck of a so people always say, "Oh, Edmonton did it." Well, you know what? They had defensive conscience too in a lot of different places.
I'll tell you what, Pierre. It was after Gretzky was gone, but it was when I really started to get into hockey. And they played the Bruins in that 1990 final. Messier's still there, and of course Bill Ranford stole the show in that series. But they didn't win on all skill in that series. I'll tell you, they took it to the Bruins. I mean, it reminded me of what you guys, the Penguins, did a couple years later. I mean, they came into the Garden with a plan, and they won 2 games in that series in the Garden. 3 games actually in the Garden, and that was their plan. They knew we're not going to go into this place and win on finesse and win on our skill. We have it, but we need to dig deep, and that's how time after time, Stanley Cup champions become Stanley Cup champions. All right, let's go to the
part
next question.
Part of our plan, Jimmy, was taken from watching Edmonton play against Boston. I can tell you.
There you go. It was a previous year, right?
Part of our plan was from what Edmonton had done.
Yeah, I'll never forget that 3 overtime game, Pierre. You know, yeah. Listen, God rest his soul. I know he just passed away, so I'm not trying to speak in vain of it. But my dad used to always say, and this is before the Red Sox broke the curse, right? And before the Bruins had broke their cup curse. So my dad would say, the Red Sox have Bucky bleeping Dent, and the Bruins got Peter bleeping Kleemer. Because that goal, the Bruins had that. Glenn Wesley missed an open net, but all right, I digress. All right, next question. Of the teams needing backup goalies badly, LA, Colorado, and Jersey, which team makes a move first?
So Alex asked really good questions. And you know what? Because of the injury situation in LA.
That's right.
Now, I'm wondering, with Phoenix Copley done ACL tear, I'm wondering if LA doesn't get going here. The one thing about LA that's an amazing numerical anomaly, go look at their home record, they're 500, and go look at their road record.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And usually, not always, LA has a pretty good home record because when the guys get out there, they like to frolic in the sun a little bit and they lose track of hockey, talking about the visitors when they come in. Mm-hmm. That's not the case anymore because they know LA is a real good team. So, again, I would say LA is going to be in there. My biggest fear for Colorado is that they have a really good team, and I'm not even sure if they got a legit starting goalie. Gorgiev's a good player, but has he ever really won in the playoffs?
Yeah.
We don't know. They don't know. We don't know, and I don't think the kid knows.
And forgive me for forgetting his name. The other Russian kid they have he's going to be good, but he's not ready. I can't think of his name, Pierre. He's been up a couple times.
Starts with a P. I know that.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. But anyhow, goaltending is an issue, I think, and that's kind of something a lot of people aren't talking about. I mean, you look at Colorado, you think they're set, they're a contender, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you got to shore that up before the playoffs. So Let's go to the next question here. Oh, yeah, this one. I meant to bring this up to you the other day, Pierre, and I did text it to you just now. Yeah. Reposting from Evan McLaren. Reposting because I didn't hear this answered on a prior show. Ignore if it was. No, it wasn't, Evan. Sorry. Your take on the relationship the league is cultivating with sports betting. It bothers some people and sometimes feels weird to me, but I don't have an informed objection. Do you see any red flags? Pierre, before you go into this, I just want to say I wasn't against it, but it's become unbearable. It's just too much in your face. And what really sealed it for me, and I'm sure you might have been ready to bring this up too, was when you see Shane Pinto get suspended 41 games because his buddy stole his phone and went on a betting app and made a bet, and yet you want Shane Pinto to wear the Bet 365 logo on his helmet. I'm sorry. That's just hypocritical to me. And I still don't agree with that suspension. I think he was made an example of unfairly, given what Evan is saying here, that gambling has become so prominent in the league. All right, that's my take.
I remember back in the old days, every year during training camp, teams would have people from the FBI or people would have security specialists come in to talk about gambling, drugs, and alcohol abuse. And they'd bring in doctors, but they'd bring in police and security people as well, and to go over all this. And I can tell you right now, gambling was taboo. It was taboo. I ran a practice in the morning in Hartford, and we had Foxwood Casino signs on our sideboards. Okay, Jimmy? When it came back for the game that night, those signs were removed per NHL request. The NHL did not want those signs on the sideboards. The next night, we played in Philadelphia, and something must have transpired in 24 hours because there were Hera Casino Hotel signs on the boards in Philadelphia 24 hours later. But we couldn't have them in Hartford 24 hours previous. So this has been a disjointed relationship for a long time. I understand where the league and the front office of the league are coming from. This is all dollar driven. It is. Yeah. It's all, they can say whatever they want. This is about money. It's all it's about. I personally do not encourage it, and I have never encouraged it. I just think it's really tough. What I think we're seeing because of frustration with people losing bets, there's a lot of anger. I worry about the anger, especially when there's sports books in arenas, which is coming next.
Oh, yeah.
The anger on prop bets in the building, the anger in the street when you leave the rink and somebody's lost, whatever, their meal money for the week. Because that's what it gets down to, Jimmy. You know that, and I know. I'm not making this stuff up. It's really, it's sad.
And then what are they going to turn to, Pierre? If you're at a game and, Brad Marchand doesn't complete your triple parlay with a goal, and you got about 6 deep in you of drinks, and you combine the alcohol fuel with the gambling loss fuel, things can get a little hairy in the stands there.
Again, I understand this is a really dicey question to ask, but I think it's important that
it's important to talk about.
We have to talk about it. I think it's really important. And so I personally am not for it, but I also know why it's being done. And it's part of why the cap's going up. They can say whatever they want, but it's part of why the cap's going up. It's hockey-related revenue.
Yes, yes, for sure. For sure. And by the way, before we go to the next question, Alex B. Smith said that he remembers that too. Back in the day, they used to have Empress Casino on Hawks boards back in the day.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Here's what I think I told you.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. It is. But I totally understand why. So I understand why the league does it, but you're kind of caught in the middle when you have the feeling they have about it. So.
For sure. All right, next question. Will the Bruins make a pitch for Lindholm? Well, this is the big one. This is the most common question when it comes to Bruins fans and what they're going to do to get that center. Now, we just discussed Stamkos, and I'll say too, I forgot to say this when I was kind of hypothetically talking about that and connecting the dots there. The other thing too is if he did become available, and there's going to be other guys too, we got to start looking at other options, because I think Lindholm's going to cost a boatload. So I think it eliminates a lot of teams out there that are in contention, Pierre, because, the Bruins aren't the only team that are missing a first-round pick that are contenders right now, right? Because usually if you're a contender year after year after year, you don't usually have first-round picks because you keep using them in the trades. So I'd like to maybe, be an exercise you and I can do off the air and talk about maybe later this week or next week, and it's very soon, is start to look at plan Bs at the center position. I'd really be interested to see some of the other guys that could emerge, because I think those are the guys that might move. I'm not convinced Lindholm moves. From everything I hear that they're asking for him on the market, it's going to take a lot to step up to the table and get him.
So what you're going to have to do, not everybody trades away franchise centers like Boston did with Joe Thornton. They just don't. Not everybody trades away Ronnie Francis like Hartford did to Pittsburgh. It doesn't happen. That's why you can just rattle them off, because it doesn't happen very often. Joe Sakic never got traded. There's a reason why. Mario never got traded. Did Gretzky get traded? Yeah, it was a unique time. There's a lot of different stuff going on with that. But great ones usually, not always, don't get moved. I would say this. It's probably best, if you're going to do this exercise, to look at the teams that are realistically eliminated from the playoffs right now. Mm-hmm. San Jose, Chicago, in the East, Ottawa, Buffalo. Could they all make it? Because mathematically, they have a chance. They could. But realistically, do you think it's going to happen?
No.
Probably not. So you have to look at those teams right now and say, well, what's player X worth? What's player B worth? Do we want to establish the marketplace? It's not that complicated an equation. The problem is that a lot of teams still, when you make the deal early, you're still dealing with a lot of cap-related issues, and that's part of the problem.
For sure. We will see. But, I mean, for the Randy who asked that question, Randy Workman, they're interested. I just don't see it at this point happen. I don't know how Don Sweeney pulls it off, based on what I know that Craig Conroy wants.
You need to have assets to make that deal too, Jimmy. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're not trading them for free.
No.
And the Bruins right now are not.
They don't have a first, second, or third, Pierre. A first, second, or third. I mean,
It's going to
Right
be more
there.
than one asset, though. It's got to be more than one. They're not just taking one asset.
No, they want a first, they want a prospect, and from what I'm told, they want a body. They want a current roster body.
So, look, it's painful to say they got really crushed on the Tkachuk trade, and they got really crushed on the Johnny Gaudreau going as an unrestricted free agent. They got no compensation at all. And then you're talking about Calgary, obviously, and then you look at what's going to happen with Hanifin, what's going to happen with Tanev. you know, there are issues there. They already traded one guy out to Vancouver.
Yep.
Because they couldn't sign him.
It should be noted too. There, I think it was Saturday night. Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet was reporting that he's hearing some talks have started up again with Conroy and Hanifin's camp. I don't know. You know, that's all he said. He doesn't know how far it's gone, but he heard that both sides were willing to maybe explore it again. But by all accounts, Pierre, from what I hear, he won't be with the Flames. But that's just what I'm hearing. I might be wrong.
You can't. Here's one thing I can say with certainty.
Yeah.
If they can't get that player signed, they cannot afford to lose him for nothing.
Exactly. So that's why
go down this road again. The Gaudreau thing was not properly dealt with. I wasn't involved, but I'm just telling you, you can't. When you have players that still have plenty of game left, and there's value there. There was trade value to Philadelphia. There was trade value to New Jersey. It was probably trade value to the Islanders. There was probably trade value to the Rangers. And obviously there would have been trade value with Columbus because they signed them.
Sure.
And I'm sure there were other teams that would have taken them in a trade too. So
yeah,
they cannot afford to do that again. They just,
so Pierre, I mean,
decision on him sooner than probably any other player.
Exactly. And based on what you're just saying there, and I agree with all of it, connecting the dots, maybe that's just Conroy saying, look, we're getting to the point where we're becoming sellers. I'm just throwing it out there. Noah, one last shot, do we want to try and work something out? Because if not, I have to trade you just to get something back. It's nothing against you. I just got to do it, so that's me. That's hypothetically speaking.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's nothing to this. I know you're very thorough with your reporting, but we're not starting rumors here saying that.
These are, again, it's just me just spitballing.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying there. But all right, one last question here.
Yeah.
Alex B. Smith. Too many heads down because they aren't worried about getting hit because hits aren't being thrown enough below the pro level. Got to learn the proper way to hit and take hits. Alex, I don't know. I think hits are being thrown a lot below the pro level. I don't know, Pierre. What do you think?
Well, there's a few things.
You just saw attending a college game.
Yeah, Division I college hockey, there are a lot of hits. Major, junior, there are a lot of hits still. Part of the problem, I think, especially internationally for players under 18 years of age, they have to wear full masks. College players all have to wear full masks. I will tell you right now, I'm totally against the full mask. And the reason why is disrespect of the opponent. When you wear the full mask, you use your head as a battering ram. It's almost like you're a football player on the ice. If you had a half a shield and everybody had to wear a mouthpiece properly, watch how soon some of those crazy hits stop. Because guys don't want to get cut. They don't want to have the potential for breaking their nose or losing their teeth. And it would control. When guys didn't have helmets on, you didn't see some of these crazy hits we're seeing now. They just didn't do it. That were hard hits. Look I saw Larry Robinson break the boards when he hit Gary Dornhofer in Montreal. He hit him so hard they broke the boards in the Forum.
I was told about that one.
So, I mean, when guys didn't wear helmets, were there hard hits? Yeah, there were, but there weren't these full speed head-on boom in the open ice like we're seeing now. Maybe you had a couple guys like Tiger Williams who were just, mayhem on ice, and you want them on your team. Or Stan Jonathan, you want those guys on your team. But no, you didn't see those crazy now. But the full face, I'm telling you, one of the ways you could get this all sorted out is put shields on everybody, but the 3/4 one, not the half one, 3/4, and make them all wear masks. And you watch how quick some of this stuff stops.
For sure. Hey, I don't know why my mind just went back to the old-time players. And, of course, the Bruins here, Pierre, are celebrating a 100-year centennial. So they've been having these special centennial nights, and they had the lunch pail gang. So Jonathan was very
I saw them in the penalty box.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
Give Milbury a shoe.
Did you see Wensink when he got introduced go like this to the bench?
Well, you know what the good news was? The guys took it the way it was supposed to be done. Johnny was a tough guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was a tough guy.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
For a guy that did as much physical stuff as he did, he looks really good.
Yeah, he's in good shape, and he had his wits about him too. He wasn't slowing down. And what was interesting was, I don't know if you saw it, Pierre, and I still haven't got a chance to talk to Frederick. I want to ask him maybe. So last week, New Year's Eve, when they were playing Detroit, in that game, remember I told you on the air here how rough it got?
Yeah.
He scored his first goal, and he skated by the Detroit bench and did that. And he goes, let's go. Just like that. So I got to ask him, I said, was that for Wensink? Because I know he met up with all those guys when they were in town. Yeah. So I wonder if there's a connection there.
You remember one of our first shows we were talking about Trent Frederick?
Yes.
He is, without a doubt, one of the most improved players in the league. The other guy, there's a few of them, but he's definitely one of them. He's done an amazing job. He really has. His skating is so solid. His board play is great. His release on a shot is so good. He's becoming a power forward that I think the Bruins thought he would be. You look at that draft, all the kids from St. Louis. You know, Brady was part of that. Keller was part of that. Luke Cunnin was part of that. It was amazing, all the St. Louis kids that were drafted that year. And, you know, I know Keith Kachuk had a lot to do with that. Kelly Chase had a lot to do with that. Logan Brown's father had a lot to do with that. So, yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Jeff Brown, by the way, is his dad. Each other. So, I mean, it was pretty amazing. But you see Trent play now, and you're like, whoa, that was some good scouting, and that's been some great development going on with him.
Yeah, and you see what he said, too. I sent you that piece about Coyle and what a mentor he's been to him, Charlie Coyle, for Trent Frederick. It's good stuff. And Pierre, I mean, like, I love when, like, the way I saw, and I see it with other teams, but I love when the players today, when these kids can meet those older players, those alumni, and pick their brain, you know, and when they get the chance to just talk to them and learn stuff they never knew, you know, there's so many generations distance from the lunch pail gang. So to see them come and then come out of the room and talk to us about it, and they're just all like, this guy really did that. And like, yeah, they did that back in the day. It's pretty cool to see the generations connect like that.
It's really important, I think, and I don't know how many teams do this now, but to understand the history of the organization that you're a part of, and to understand the players that came before you and help make it a better league for you that were part of the same organization. I think one of the things that if I had a chance to do it, I would implement in every locker room, every player that wore, let's say, number 7, just because it's a retired number in Boston for Esposito. All the players that ever wore 7, you know, all the players that ever wore 37, not that there will ever be another one, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I think that's really important because it brings tradition and memory into your room, and you get inquisitive about the players that wore that number. Like, you want to know.
Yeah.
You know, what was that guy like?
Yep.
Resources around teams are so important. That's why I can tell you, just again, I keep bringing it up, and I know you've talked to Kevin Stevens about it, but Brian Trottier was a really important guy in Pittsburgh. He really was. Scotty Bowman was a really important guy. Bob Johnson really never listened to too many people, but man, did he listen to Scotty when it came to strategy, bench matchups, practice planning, travel planning, time zone travel. It was amazing to see the interplay between all these high-end hockey players when I was working in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And you learn so much because information at the end, if you're really wanting to get better, you need to have a lot of information. And I saw that happen, and it's really important to have in your organization.
And the Canadians have always done a good job of that, Pierre.
Well, Lou Lamoriello is an amazing guy, and he will tell you everything he's ever done in sports, whether it was at Providence College, whether it was with the New Jersey Devils, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now with the New York Islanders, everything he's ever done based on 2 teams' principles. The Boston Celtics under Red Auerbach and the Montreal Canadiens under Sam Pollock and Frank Selke Sr. Everything that he's done in his tenure as a sports management person has been based on 2 franchises, Boston basketball and Montreal in hockey.
Yeah, always learn from the past. For all you youngsters out there, take the time, read up, You got plenty. Now you've got so much at your fingertips with Google and everything. So no excuse. It helps you. It will help you become a better player and understand the game more. One more question here, because he did want to say, he's happy to hear you on here, Pierre. Joe Cowan over here in the message room. Before he wrote this, he said, I'm happy to hear Pierre back on here. I listen to TSN 690. There you go. I've been listening to you for a decade plus. I'm a TSN 690 listener. Keep up the great work. So I wanted to.
What's he asked me about? He's asked me about Lane.
And there you go. Yep. He says, I missed the first part. Thoughts on Lane Hutson? I have a hard time believing the hype because I've been hurt so many times as a Habs fan. Make me believe. He must be a young Habs fan because the older ones weren't hurt too many times.
Yeah. I told Jimmy before, I'm going to be heading to watch Boston University and Northeastern tomorrow night at BU. And I can't wait to watch Lane play. I can't wait to watch Macklin Celebrini play. I really am looking forward to watching Alex Tuck's brother play, Luke Tuck. So there's a lot of kids that I really can't wait to watch playing that game. But one of them obviously is Lane. And it's hard for players coming back from the World Juniors to dominate just because physically and mentally, and especially after you win. It's just there's a letdown, Jimmy. It's just normal. You know what I mean? It's just normal. But Lane is a dominant player. He will be an elite power play player. He will not be a matchup shutdown guy. He won't. He just won't be big enough to do that. He'll be an elite puck mover. There's a lot of Quinn Hughes in him. I think there's a lot of Adam Fox in him. Adam Fox has won the Norris Trophy. I'm not saying Lane's going to do that, but he's in that ilk. He is definitely in that ilk. This is a very, very special player. The Canadians fans should be really excited. Your power play will not have nearly the problems a lot of other teams have once he gets on your team.
All right. Well, listen, that'll do it for today, but we appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to Jocko's here for putting me up again. And Pierre.
Don't forget our guests.
I'm about to say that. Okay. Pierre, we've got some big guests coming on. I'm really excited tomorrow because not only do we have the UMaine head coach coming on, Ben Bard, he also was part of helping my alma mater win a national championship as an assistant under Greg Carville at UMass Amherst. So right there, I've got an instant connection with him. So I'm looking forward to that. And we've got a guest coming up on Friday as well for On Campus Friday. Pierre, why don't you tell our listeners?
Yeah, Jimmy Madigan, can't wait. The athletic director, the former coach, assistant coach, and player at Northeastern University. So I was doing this breakdown with Jimmy today.
Yeah.
I said, Jimmy, I'm thinking, I know for a fact, because I grew up playing against Jimmy in Montreal. He went to Loyola. I went to Lower Canada College, two schools that hate each other, and we used to have battles all the time. Anyways, we've known each other a real long time. And I said to Jimmy Murphy today, I said, Jimmy, I know Mad Dog, that's his nickname. I know Mad Dog won the Beanpot as a player. I know he won it as an assistant coach. I know he won it as a head coach, and I know he won it as an athletic director. So I'm saying, I don't think anybody else has done it. And I'm starting to think, and I said, yes, Jimmy, somebody else has done it. Jack Parker.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you'd have to do this for me because I haven't looked it up. Jack won it as a player. I don't know if he won it as an assistant coach. He definitely won it as a head coach.
Yep.
And he definitely won it as an athletic director.
Yes.
So
find out about
the assistant coach.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Jimmy Madigan too, though. When he was with the Penguins, he was scouting for them.
Yep.
And they won the cup in 2009. And I ended up through Kevin Stevens was at his cup party in his backyard. And it was great time. Just really kept in touch with him over the years, would see him in the press box scouting. Great guy to talk to. I mean, he's one of the most personable guys to me that I've come across in the game. He's always got time for people, Pierre, and always has a smile on his face.
Oh, no, we've had a lot of fun over the years. Back in the day, we were both assistant coaches going out on the road recruiting, and I had the car, and he had more of the per diem money. So I would drive and put gas in the car, and he would pay for the meals.
Nice.
And we were both recruiting, and we'd either run up into Ottawa, run into Montreal, or we'd go over to Toronto, and we had some great road trips together. Lots of fun. He's a really good hockey man. Really good.
Is he a West Island guy, Pierre?
He's a West Island guy. And then they moved to Toronto. He and his family moved to Toronto in the mid-'70s. But what's interesting is why we want Jimmy on is to get ready for the first 2 Mondays of February. For the Bean Pot. And my coworker, Jimmy Murphy, has a great idea. I don't know, do you want to share it now?
We can. We haven't secured a location, but we are planning, we hope. We're going to do a remote outside the garden at a we'll call it a local watering hole or an establishment, a restaurant, whatever, whoever would take us. I've got some good ideas, but I won't say it just yet because I haven't confirmed, but we are going to do that. So if you're going to the Bean Pot, keep listening. We'll get the details out in the coming weeks, and we're really looking forward to that. And as Pierre and I said, we agreed we want to do it on the first Monday, which has the first game at 5, the second game at, I believe, 8:15. So that way it's perfect. We'll line up perfect. Maybe we'll even start like an hour early or a half hour early, have a little more time with the people that are around there. But yeah, we'll be there. We'd love for you to come on down. So when we have the details, I will give them to you. And we would love for all you Boston people out there, even if you want to travel to town for the Bean Pot, to come visit us, say hi, ask some questions in person. So we're pretty excited about that.
We're also trying to get 2 more NHL guests that are high-profile people in the NHL.
For sure. We're working on that for this week, actually. So.
This week, yeah. One for Wednesday and one for Thursday. So we got a lot going on.
Yep, we're looking forward to it. And we want to thank everyone in the chat room there. Thank all our listeners who listen to us live and also on all your podcast platforms. And, of course, thank our great production crew. Thanks for the patience and a little reshuffling, guys, with my little Verizon issue. But we made it happen again. And we look forward to talking to you tomorrow here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.